Year 2. This is your science lesson, and today we're learning about microhabitats. Let's have a look at some information. So, you're going to need some key scientific vocabulary for this lesson. First of all is habitats, which we have learnt about before. Now, a habitat is a place where an animal can live. It needs to provide that animal with food, with water, and a safe place for it to survive and not be eaten by predators, and a safe place to reproduce where it can have babies. Now, a microhabitat is a smaller version of a habitat. We'll look at some examples in just a moment. Now, the word mini beast isn't actually a very scientific word. What it means essentially are very small animals. What we want to call them really, when we're thinking scientifically, is invertebrates. That's that word down at the bottom, invertebrates. So an invertebrate means an animal with no backbone. Now, mammals like us have backbones. Birds have backbones. Reptiles have backbones. Fish have backbones. Invertebrates don't have any backbones. And there are lots of different types. Things like worms, spiders, butterflies, ants, octopus don't have backbones. Now, mini beast just means very small animals. So when we think about mini beasts, it's not quite the same as invertebrates, because there are some invertebrates that are big, like squid or octopus. A mini beast is a very small animal. We'll come back to these words later when we do our activity. So, as I said, a habitat is a place where an animal lives. It provides the animal with food, water, and shelter. We've got examples here: forests, grasslands, mountain slopes, deserts. We've got an ocean here, the Arctic or the Antarctic. Different habitats are home to different animals. They work well together because they all do things to keep that habitat healthy. Now, microhabitat is a very small part of a habitat, such as a clump of grass or a space between rocks. This is where you find extremely small creatures. Those are those mini beasts that we talk about, such as woodlice. So a microhabitat might have its own temperature and light, and it will have its own creatures. There's a couple of other examples here. So maybe a part of a tree or a rock in a stream. So they can be really, really small. We're going to go through some examples of microhabitats here. So the first one is a fallen log. So if you think about habitat, it's like a forest. That a microhabitat is just one log that's fallen from a tree, and it could be home to these sort of animals like wasps, woodlice, centipedes, millipedes, and beetles. It's dark and cool inside. So we're not just thinking about on the log or under the log. There are animals that might burrow inside the log where it's dark and cool. Mini beasts might live here because they can eat the rotting wood, keep moist in the dark inside, and burrow out of the sun. They're also safe from animals like birds that might want to eat them, so they're safe from predators. So this microhabitat gives them something to eat and it keeps them safe. The next one is leaf litter. Now, we normally see this in autumn. When the leaves fall off the trees, you get those big piles of fallen leaves. Now, if you imagine in a forest, the whole floor is covered with fallen leaves with this leaf litter. Now, this microhabitat is home to animals that like to be warm, damp and dark, because they can nest within the leaf litter or hide there, once again, to protect themselves from predators. We've got some examples here like woodlice, worms, snails, earwigs, beetles, and again, millipedes. So lots of animals in the leaf litter. Grass can also be a microhabitat. So it's home to many mini beasts that will eat the grass. So it's both a home and a source of food. So something like a caterpillar, for example, will eat the grass. It will be sheltered by the grass, and many animals also camouflage within the grass. If you think about aphids or again caterpillars, which can be green, they are camouflaged among the grass, so they hide from predators. So many different mini beasts live in many different microhabitats. They are suited to live in that microhabitat because they can find the food, water, and shelter they need. Mini beasts also help to keep that microhabitat healthy. We'll look at some examples now of some mini beasts. So caterpillars, they like to live on top and underneath of leaves. They use their camouflage to hide against those leaves. This helps them so they cannot be seen by predators. So things like birds that want to eat them won't be able to distinguish the caterpillar from the grass. And it also means they have a constant supply of food because they eat the grass that's around them or the leaves that they live on. During the summer, ladybirds live in shrubs, branches, and flowers. When the weather gets colder, they find shelter in places like tree stumps or cracks in the wood, like that fallen log we saw earlier. It can become a place to hibernate. They crawl under the leaves to protect themselves from the winter cold. Worms, hopefully we know this, worms like to live in the soil. They need that soil to be damp. Worms help to keep the soil healthy because they dig tunnels that let air and water through to the roots of the plant. We've also got bumblebees, which tend to live near flowers because they rely entirely on the flowers for their food, which is nectar, which is a very sweet substance that they can get out of the flower. You can see in this picture, this bumblebee is drinking nectar. Because of this, bumblebees like to live where there are lots of flowers. Spiders. Now, spiders can live in lots of different places, but most of the spiders in the UK will spin a web, like in this picture. They like to live in a quiet place where they can where they can get their food easily. So they tend to catch other mini beasts like flies that get caught in their web. Their body colours help to blend in well with the surroundings. They're often dark colours like brown here in the picture. So it gives examples of building a web between two plants or in the corner of a room. I'm sure you've seen lots of spider webs in your life. Grasshoppers like to live in fields and meadows. They like to eat the grass, the leaves, and the grains that go there. They also like living in the long grass because it helps to hide them from predators. They don't build nests, they just use the grass to keep them safe. That's their microhabitat. Snails, often found in places like gardens or parks where they hide between the rocks or between gaps in the wall. Again, that keeps them safe. It says here, if you put a snail in an open meadow, it hasn't got any protection from a bird that might come in and pick it up. So they tend to live underneath things like large leaves or rocks that keep them safe. And finally, butterflies. Similar to the bee, butterflies drink nectar to survive. So they always live, their microhabitat is around flowering plants. So again, you can see them in parks and gardens, usually found on brightly coloured flowers in woodland or rainforests. They're often found in sunny spots on low plants as well. So there's some information about microhabitats and mini beasts. We're now going to have a look at your activity for this science, which is here. So first part, you need to label the mini beasts. So we've got some different mini beasts going down the page. On this side, you need to just write their names next to them. So say what they are. Then you need to draw a line from the mini beast to the correct microhabitat. So for example, the spider, you would draw a line down to the spider web. If you're not sure about one of them, skip it, move on to the next one, and hopefully you'll be able to see the ones that are left when you are near the end. Now, once you have done this linking up, there is a challenge on the second page, and it says choose 3 mini beasts and explain how they find food and shelter in their microhabitat. So just write a couple of sentences about 3 of the mini beasts and explain why that microhabitat is good for that mini beast. So for example, we might write spiders make webs between plants or in the corners of rooms. If a smaller mini beast touches the web, it gets trapped, ready for the spider to eat. Spiders can camouflage, or it's not a good word, I'm very good at spelling, let's try that again. There you go, camouflage against dull backgrounds. And we said before, didn't we, they're often dark colours like brown. So if you write sentences like that for 3 of the mini beasts. As always, when you are finished with this, send your work to your teacher on eSchools. We love to see it. Right, that's science. I hope you enjoy this, and we'll see you later. Bye.